Good morning, and welcome to the Mental Breakdown Morning Show. I'm Dr. Bernie Wilkinson.
I'm Dr. Richard Marshall.
And it's Wednesday, December 21. You always like to call Wednesday 21st.
Is it the 21st? It is.
You always like to refer to Wednesday as hump day.
No, I don't like that.
Today's your haircut day.
It is.
You're getting your haircut
later today, and I'm going to spend time with my daughter today.
Yeah?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to say something. Oftentimes when you get a haircut, I can't tell that you've gotten a haircut. I mean, I know that it probably feels better, but I can't tell when you get a haircut.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Is it?
You notice with presidents, their hair always looks the same because it's trimmed by the White House barber, and it always is the same length. Where, those of us who can't do that, who don't have our own barber in the house.
Look.
It grows, and then you get it cut, and it grows, and you get it cut.
I'm on a 6-month schedule.
For your hair?
Thereabouts.
You don't need enough protein.
No. It's because
you should eat Jell-O.
I don't like.
Doesn't that make your hair grow? Oh no, that's your fingernails. Well, isn't hair and fingernails the same?
They are made out of the same stuff.
Well, so you should eat Jell-O. Make your hair grow faster.
I don't like. It doesn't have anything to do with the speed at which my hair grows. It has to do with the dislike I have of sitting still so long.
You can't sit still long enough for a haircut.
Yeah.
You're 3 or 4.
Huh?
You're like a little boy.
Man, you got people messing with your hair and stuff.
Touching you.
Why? What's that? And then they drape that thing over you.
Confining.
Yeah. I can't see my phone underneath it.
Of course. And can't play Pokemon Go when you're getting a haircut.
Why have a Pokestop there if you can't get to the Pokestop because you can't see your phone without getting hair clippings all over it?
To all of our listeners, someday I'm going to tell you about what happens at 4 o'clock in the morning in this area of town.
There are Poke gyms
that
I go to every morning.
I'll tell you about it another time.
Well, but you know what?
But today we have things. Today is the show.
Today's the day that you were.
I'm excited about
this
one.
Yeah.
I am excited about this
because today we're going to talk about age 8. We're continuing our discussion of critical periods
of emotional development.
For emotional development.
That's right. Because we parents and we tend to think of academic development and motor development and how good are my child's motor skills and are they going to be a dancer or an athlete and how good are their musical skills, but frequently forget about their emotional development.
Right.
It doesn't happen automatically.
Right.
Okay.
And which is why we wrote our book and entitled it Handbook for Raising an Emotionally Healthy Child.
That's right.
Most kids are walking well. Most kids are communicating relatively well. Right. But we're talking about and worried about their emotional development because their emotional development, though we overlook it, it really is the driving force behind a lot of other things.
And we say, that we just assume that kids are going to develop emotional maturity and behavioral control.
Right.
It doesn't happen automatically.
Right.
You have to it's just like physical development. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to put your kids in situations where they develop physical abilities.
Right.
They develop those muscular control, muscle coordination. It's the same with emotional and behavioral development. You have to put your children into circumstances where they develop these emotional skills.
Right.
It is a skill development. And what we're talking about this week is that there are markers along the way, critical times, when you can say, am I on schedule?
Right.
Okay. That's what we're talking about this week. Yeah. And now we're up to age 8. We've talked about age 3. We talked about age 5. Now we're up to age 8. Right. I love age 8. And we'll tell you why in a minute.
Well, age 8 it is often... It is not really emphasized very much, even in the textbooks and things like that we reference for when we're training and we're training others and everything. But age 8 really is important because there's some really good research that's come out that says if by age 8 or about 3rd grade, if a child hasn't become self-regulated, we're in for a really challenging time.
That's right.
We're in for a life with this child that's going to be a little bit more challenging because if they haven't become self-regulated by the age of 8 or so, the likelihood of them really gaining that kind of control starts starts to decrease.
That's right. The chances of them gaining it after that go down each year.
Right.
And it could become a chronic problem.
Right.
If a child cannot self-regulate by age 8, by the end of 3rd grade, it could become a pretty difficult challenge after that.
Right. So what we're talking about here is we're building on what we started at age 5. And at age 5, remember, we wanted to make sure that they had emotional control.
Right.
So they weren't having temper tantrums. And they're still going to get frustrated. They're still going to, act out some. They're still going to be, think about a kindergarten classroom.
Right.
They're still going to be impulsive. They're still going to be hyperactive and impulsive and just have difficulty controlling their behaviors and some of that stuff.
And I think impulse control is a good example of kindergarten kids. We don't expect them to have complete control of their impulses yet.
And they can't sustain attention for long periods of time.
That's right. But by 3rd grade, we do expect it. And so that's why the change from age 5 to age 8 is a huge change for children.
Right. And if we think about it, it should make sense, because when we talk about, state mandated tests, when do they start? 3rd grade, which is about age 8. When we think about how the education system changes, traditionally, at least, it's starting to is a little bit different now. But kindergarten, 1st and 2nd kids are learning to read. By 3rd grade, they're starting to read to learn. So by age 3, by 3rd grade, by age 8 or so, we expect this transition to happen, and the entire way in which we teach and the expectations we have on kids completely changes
between 3rd and 4th grade.
Right. Yeah. And so by this period here, we need to make sure that they're regulated and have that ability to understand expectations, to be able to respond to those expectations appropriately, and then to be able to behave appropriately.
That's right. And it happens in self-regulation. Right. Curiously, by age 8, most children have achieved all of the speech sounds. They've mastered all the speech sounds, okay? And you talk about state-mandated testing by the end of 3rd grade, because when the National Reading Panel met back in the 1990s, they said children have to be reading at grade level by the end of 3rd grade. Right. So that's why we give the 3rd grade test. So there are these significant accomplishments, achievements that children should acquire by the end of 3rd grade, by age 8, or by the end of 3rd grade, or by age 8, because what happens is the brain development that erupts at about age 2.5 is finished by age 8, 7 or 8, and so you have developed and used these neurons, and you're going to keep them now, and the ones you didn't develop, they're going to go away. They're going to just die off. Right. And so that process is over by age 8, and then from age 8 on to the teenage years, the brain is engaged in a very different kind of activity. But this is a very significant mile marker for children by age 8.
Right. Yeah. So what we hope here, and one of the key words that we often use when we talk about what should be accomplished by age 8, at least, if we have any hope that it's going to be really, accomplished, and that is being socialized. Self-regulation leads to socialization. We've all seen those kindergarten, 1st and 2nd graders who just aren't socialized. They cannot adapt to situations in their environment. While they may not have full-out temper tantrums, they may have slight control of their emotions even at the age of 5. If they aren't completely self-regulated with their emotions and behaviors by the age of 8, the likelihood of them becoming fully socialized begins to, again, it decreases pretty significantly. And so this leads to a great deal of problems for these kids, behaviorally and emotionally at school. And of course, we know that when their emotions and behaviors are problematic at school, it's going to influence and interact with their learning. And so it's going to limit their ability to learn what they need to learn.
And you're absolutely right. At age, when you look at 1st graders and 2nd graders, for those kids who haven't achieved self-regulation, they're tolerated by their classmates.
Right.
By the end of 3rd grade, they've become a nuisance.
Right.
And so when there are parties, birthday parties, and invitations are issued, those kids who can't self-regulate, who don't have impulse control, they don't get invited anymore. And that damages self-esteem and self-concept.
Absolutely.
So it's important, so when we talk about social emotional development, the ability to self-regulate is absolutely crucial, because after this age, after age 8, when kids start to have parties and sleepovers and overnights and those group activities that are voluntary or you have to be invited to, kids who can't self-regulate stop getting invited.
Right. And as you said, this absolutely leads to issues with self-esteem, issues with anger management, issues with social relationships, and just how they engage with others and their expectations of others. So this has long-lasting effects on their overall development. And so we need to make sure that they're socialized and self-regulated by the stage.
Right. The world, when I say the world of school, the world of education, the institutions expect children to be able to self-regulate by the end of 3rd grade. These things just can't be tolerated in 4th and 5th grade. Certainly not going to be tolerated in middle school.
Right.
I mean, imagine a 3rd or 4th grader having a full-blown temper tantrum in the middle of a class. It's not even called a temper tantrum. It's called a rage attack.
Right.
And there's psychiatric implications after the 3rd grade. So this is an enormously important mile marker for social emotional development.
Yeah, and again, I'm not completely sure why it's not given as much attention as it should be. Yeah. Because
I agree.
Because again, we really emphasize it.
Right.
When we look at these kids when they're a little bit older, when they're in 4th and 5th and 6th grade, and we're looking at them and like, wow, these kids, they're just so dysregulated. They just can't control themselves. They're hypersensitive to everything that's going on around them. And again, it kind of comes down to if it wasn't there at the early age, then it's not going to get there.
And we hate to be alarmists, but I think this is one of those times when if your child still can't self-regulate by the end of 3rd grade, I think I would start asking questions or maybe seek professional help, because this could become a significant problem for that child. Right. It's going to affect other areas of his or her life. So I'd be very concerned if your child isn't self-regulating by the end of 3rd grade.
Right. So,
and the teacher can tell you that. Every teacher, they can tell you whether he or she can or cannot self-regulate.
Absolutely. So, all right. I think that's it for today. That's the goal for age 8. Tomorrow is age 12. And so we're getting into those preteens. So that's the fun stuff.
Teenage adventure.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right. So that's it for today. Have a great day. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. Things are wrapping up for this weekend with the holidays and everything. So, get everything done at work that you need to get done, and so that you can have a great weekend. So spend these today and the next 2 days wrapping everything up. Right.
Whether you celebrate the holiday or not, enjoy it. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your time. It's a festive time of the year for most. So enjoy it, and enjoy it with others.
Absolutely. So, all right. Until tomorrow, we'll see you then.
Good day.
Bye-bye.